Okay, well, good afternoon. My wax is cured on the faux leather or suede journal. I did just a light sanding on the outside. I was trying to put a symbol on the front, and I ended up having to combine Indian ink and marker. So I think that came out good. Now I'm trying to kind of do a faux binding to the outside of the journal. So I thought that would look cool to have the little leather X's. And so this is actually going to be a plug too. So it's a two-part video. So I have to thank Beebeecraft. They have provided me with this faux leather at no cost. And this is very strong, surprisingly strong. I was pretty impressed with it. It comes in a lot of different shades, as you can see. I'm going to turn off my color light for just a second so that you can see the difference in the beiges. One is more of a yellow beige and one is more of like a bone beige. So, and then there's a dark brown, this kind of naugahyde brown, and then of course the black I'm using right now. So this is my alchemy journal with the faux leather. The the symbol on the front, I wanted to make it look like I had burned it in. Unfortunately, I don't think it came out exactly as I wanted, but it's close. This is the Philosopher's Stone symbol. This is actually, this is a mythical, uh, a legendary substance. It was never created. It doesn't exist, but it is supposed to be kind of like the fountain of youth. It provides immortality for years, a number of years. They believed it to exist. Even Isaac Newton tried to make it, supposedly. It provides the highest enlightenment, heavy bliss, and perfection in alchemy. Okay, so that being said, my theme for this journal is kind of dark ages, medieval time period. That is why I tried to make this faux leather, and that brings us to the binding with, again, more faux leather. So what I have done in order to provide, now these are heavily aged, tea stained, coffee, double dipped, inked, and that's in a previous video. These symbols are the alchemy symbols of the four main elements, or what they believe is the original elements. And I explained that also in a previous video, but I'll go through it in the final flip through and tell what all the symbolism means. In the meantime, what I had to do is I actually took waxed thread, which was available in that time period, and I actually bound the signatures to themselves, to nothing. I tied them off in the middle, and then the second signature, I've actually added a piece of unbleached muslin, which would be the typical of a pocket. So you could put something in here that, and this is actually sewn into the signature, and some sort of keepsake, possibly a piece of jewelry, a piece of iron, a piece of gold, a coin, maybe even a button, because buttons were just as hard to come by as some of the other elements. So what I have done here is I have used two tools. I was afraid to punch a hole in this because it is not leather. So I used an awl initially, and I used the very, very small embossing ball tool. This one's from We Are Memory Keepers. So initially what I did, well, I actually, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to finish the other end here, and I'm going to grab my cardboard to do that. So I've already marked it on the inside where I want to poke the holes. So actually I don't need that. I'm just going to use my hand. So this has been harder than I thought. And I marked it twice actually, because the first marking was incorrect. It wasn't straight because I didn't want to draw on the faux leather, and then I ended up drawing on the faux leather. So Okay, so what I did was I just kind of started to rock my awl around in a circle until it popped through and made an initial hole. Once it made a little hole, then I just kind of wiggled it a bit. And then to make the hole a little bit bigger, I used the larger side of the smallest embossing tool. Now, this is where I'm going to begin to thread my faux leather in. Now, you can't push it in if it doubles over on itself. So what I did was I switched to the small end of the tool, laid the end of the faux leather right in that little divot. And then proceed to push it through there. So now I'm going to push a little bit more through. All right. So that's where we're at there. So now I need to come up in the hole diagonally from this. So as you can see, I've made way too many holes on this, on the front of this journal, or marks on the inside of this journal. But since the inside's not going to show that much, I'm not real concerned. So I'm going to get my awl tool again. Awl tool, awl. Be careful that you don't poke your finger when you do this. Hi, Maria. And then you're going to go in and just wiggle that awl around. I just kind of twist and wiggle and twist and wiggle. I really coated this heavily. And so, all right. So again, I'm going to use the larger embossing tool to make the hole a little bit bigger, right? And then I'm going to pop through here. And I'm going to push it back the other way. Now, again, I'm going to go ahead and lay my faux leather down even with that hole and push it through again so that it doesn't double over on itself, because it's never going to go through that tiny hole if not. So just keep pushing it a little bit at a time. You can't use your awl to push it through or you'll poke a hole in your faux leather. All right, so I want to make sure that this is looking fairly straight from here to here. Maybe this was the hole where it was supposed to be. That might be bad. Okay, well, too late now. Hashtag too late. Okay, so this is complicated here because we're going to go over here, we're going to go down here, and we're going to grab these two strings where I actually bound this signature together. And that's how I actually bound my signature to the cover. I think in these days, back then, I'm not sure how they bound their books, but this is how I'm binding it. I'm doing this for two reasons. Number one, this faux leather may not be ideal to turn the pages with later. Now, what I did was I started in the bottom of the X and came up diagonally. I'm going to go down straight across from it, and then I'm going to come down diagonally, and then I'm going to show you how I tie it in just a second. Once I get this poked through, if I can get it poked through. There we go. Okay, so here's the other end, the other side of the X. So you'll see in the end I'll have two X's, two tied marks on the outside when I get completely finished. So now I'm going to just turn this around. I might be a wee bit off camera for a second. I just want to make sure my placement is right of my pokey tool here. so that I'm making a good square. Okay. I'm really excited for the flip through. I'm going to do some calligraphy in here. I've worked very hard to edge these pages. Maria, what are you up to? Are you feeling better? I was going to call you yesterday, and I feel bad that I didn't, but it got too late, and I thought if you fell asleep, I really didn't want to wake you up because I know you were having trouble sleeping. I hope you are feeling 10 times better today. Okay, I'm going to use the big ball again, and then I'm going to push it through. I use the larger end just to make the hole bigger, but the smaller end is definitely easier to push that leather, that leather string through, faux leather string through the faux leather cover. I got a lot of faux going on, don't I? Faux string, faux aging, faux leather, faux journal. A little bit better. Oh, yes, thank God. Well, I hope you continue to feel better every day. I hate that you're going through this. I was thinking about Marcy too. I feel bad. I feel bad for poor Marcy. I hope she's hanging in there. Okay. All right. So I put this on here because this was supposed to be the binding, or the the tie closure. And I had measured and measured and measured over and over, thinking that once I tied this through the top of the signature, that I could feed it through a middle hole, a center hole, and that I could use this to wrap around the journal as a closure, a tie closure. Now I'm not so sure that I'm going to do just that. Oh, I forgot I was going to put a piece of silk in here by the map. And silk trade became very, very big during the Dark Ages. So I have my little sari silk here. And later I'm going to tie that up. So I'll show you what I do with that later. Okay, so for right now I'm going to tuck that in. I guess I could have done that afterwards. All right. So what I did down here was I took one string up under my binding strings and the other one I took down, but both of them went under both strings of each signature before I tied them off. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that I'm going to trim these down where I tied it down here. And I may even add a bit of glue to that later. But I'm going to cut these down shorter. Now that I know that knot's not going to... And I was concerned when I knotted it that it might want to ease its way out. It does have the tiniest little bit of stretch. Now, you'll notice that I put the holes for these for the faux binding just above where the real binding holes are. That is to create a certain amount of tension between the signatures where they tie in so that they're not wiggling up and down within the journal. So I think this is going to be enough tension, I hope, to prevent that from happening. Let me ease this backwards the other way. I'm going to pull the length of this back through here because I don't really need that much length there. And I don't want this to pop out. So, let's see, I'm going this way, right? No, I'm going this way. I'm trying to kind of keep these flat so they don't twist. I like them when they stay kind of flat. I think they'll look pretty. I'm sure in time they'll twist up, but it's like shoelaces. They get all, after a while, you don't care, do you? But when you first put your shoelaces in, do you try to keep them from flipping over? I do. Hi, Grandma Joe. How's it going? I'm tying in this signature. This is the Beebeecraft leather. Faux leather, I'm sorry. I'm telling you the wrong thing. I keep having to say faux, faux, faux. Let me throw some of this stuff out. Okay, so you can kind of see when I hold it up. Here's the binding here, and I literally just tied it off on the strings. And here I'm going to do the same exact thing. One goes under, one goes over, and when I pull it taut, those are pulling kind of against each other now. So I'm hoping, see how strong that is? That is not breaking even when I pull really, really tight on that. That faux leather is just staying with me on here. And I haven't seen any other faux leather this strong. So kudos Beebeecrafts for that. That's quite, I hope they continue to carry this always. I love this faux leather. I'm really impressed with it. And there's so many things you can do with it. Okay. So now we have to decide on a closure. So what do you think? There's my, yeah, huh? Cool? Not cool? Super cool? I don't know. I like it. Okay, so now we have to decide on a closure. Now I had this tooth that I was thinking about, but I still feel like I'm thinking about a hammered button. A stone wouldn't be bad, actually. I wonder if I have some sort of crude stone, or even, right, healing beads, or even a piece of metal. You know, alchemy in some of the symbolism that I'm going to put in the book, other than the main classic, what they consider the four main classic elements, is the they had 7 metals identified during the Dark Ages that were big in with alchemists. And so those symbolisms are going to be added in here. So I wonder if you know what, let's look at my metal junk. Let's just look and see what, you know, sometimes I forget what's in this box. Let me move I got my gloves over here on my, well, that went all the way behind the desk, whatever that was. I didn't see it fall, so I don't know. But I'm going to look in here and just see what metal stuff we have. Oh my gosh. I got butterflies flying out of this bag. Okay, so I've got a key, keys. Now actually, that key looks a little cruder. This one looks, oh, says love on it. These are tooled a little bit too much. And this, who gave me those? Let's see. This is an old watch. These are corners, metal corners, wings. What's that? Clock hands. Wings. All these have words on them and numbers. None of those look really really that old, do they? All right. No, that's too detailed. I need really something that's kind of crude looking, almost you guys save old watches? Oh, look at this. I love this. This is a, you guys know what that is? That's a, that's for my garden journal. It's a spigot handle, but it's a screw on. So yeah, I think Lisa sent that to me. I got all these little things down here. Oh, some little fans. Oh my goodness, all these little parts and pieces. Oh, I forgot I used to keep all my metal stuff together, and I took out my, how do I not have anything hammered? I have no hammered antique-y looking metal in here. That's crazy, because I know I do have some hammered metal pieces. How aggravating for me to not be able. I know that this is why I just keep metal with metal, okay? Because if, oh, you know what? Oh, I know. You know what I just thought of? I have some metal pieces in my jewelry, of course, because I'm always throwing oddball pieces on my, I use a lot of this for my charms. So, you know what? Let's get that box down. Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. I can't forget when I'm done with this video to go back and find whatever I knocked off the shelf. I'm about to knock my clock down. Okay. I'm going to have to make a little bit of a mess for a second to get some of this stuff out. But let's see what I've got here. I have charms. Oh, love is the key. And that's hammered, but it says love is the key in English on it. I know. I will know it when I see it, won't I? What's in here? Bunch of old jewelry stuffs. Oh, look at this. There's an old cross in here. And it's really, really beat up, which would be perfect on here. Because, and who throws away a cross? I didn't have the heart. I'm like, I will probably never use that on anything because it's so sadly beat up. But here we go. I'm about to use it. Okay, so I have oh, look at this. Okay, I found it. I found what I'm going to use. But that's probably not big enough. But you know what? I bet I can put that on the, I bet I can put some of those on the end. Maybe. Let's hold on to that. We'll leave those out. I always buy these bobbins to put on charms. Is that silly? Oh, I have these too, but these are pretty shiny. Those are all pretty shiny. Okay, I have one more box I can look in. Let me set these aside. This is my next project. I'll be making some boho beads with those. But I know I've got some hammered metal in my silver box. That's my gold box. Oh, come on. That's my shiny silver box. Oh, I can't reach. Aha, I found it. Okay. So let me put these back. Ooh, I need to keep the shiny with the shiny. And the dull with the dull. And then that goes on top. I got this little stack up here on the shelf. Oh, and that too. Okay. Oh, all kinds of fun stuff. Let's see. Got some numbers in here. I don't know where all these gears came from. I guess I need to make a steampunk journal next so I can use up some of this stuff. Are you kidding me? I thought I had some silver stuff in here. I know I do. I do have. I'm going to take this back out to get to the other. Do I have any furniture tacks? Oh, you know what? That would be great. Let me think. Do I have? I used to have some furniture tacks. Why did I buy furniture tacks? Let me look in here just in case, because I know there's some copper. Okay, I do have a couple weird colored beads in here that aren't really silver and aren't really gold, but they're not really hammered silver either. Let's see what's down in here. This is copper. So this is all, I got a bunch of copper down in here. Darn it, darn it. Oh, I have these, which are weird. I don't know that those look real old. Oh, I do have these. These are metal, and those kind of are reminiscent of some of the weird. I looked up online medieval jewelry, and they did have some quite skilled artisans that were able to make jewelry. Let's see what else I got in here. I got some gears. Got some more clips and clamps and who knows what else. Let's see what's in here. Okay. I don't think the hole in that bead is big enough. All right, so maybe a glass bead. Maybe I should be looking for glass. So let me put this stuff back and let's check out. I have some abnormally large glass beads that have an abnormally large hole in them. So I'm thinking that might be the answer for me. I don't know. I really am kind of stuck on how to make this closure. And do I want to see this leather wrapped around and around this journal? Or do I want to see it wrapped like so? Here. There's a lot on this roll too, you guys. I don't know how many feet is here, but I have already used it, sampled it. So I don't know if I want to wrap something around here a couple times and maybe tie it here. if I want to double it up. I thought about even maybe making a braided piece, and then, or maybe even doing like a button type closure. Egyptian is a different era though, and so the Egyptians, I don't think, crossed over with that Nordic side until the 1600s, I'm guessing, which would be the end of the Middle Ages, right? Or the Dark Ages. Is that I wasn't that great at history. Okay, so I actually have a black glass bead. I have this weird twisty one. I do have this cool brown one, which is probably about how beads looked back then. If I had to guess, they were probably very simple rolled beads. I wonder if I could find 2 matching beads and then just do maybe an end tie, you think? Or sew a bead on the front that could be something, could be wrapped around here. I don't know about the square one. I'm sure they can make square ones. Here's a couple that match, a couple black beads. They're not exact, but they're very, very similar. That looks like a lifesaver, like a black lifesaver, but it looks almost exactly like the size of a lifesaver. So, all right, so this one's weird. This one's like a chalky glass, and I imagine that's what a lot of their beads look like. This frosted one, because they probably had some, well, I don't know. I don't know how pure their materials were, but sand, fire often is the greatest purifier, isn't it? All right, opinions. Opinions welcome. So let's look at our let me see, what's that? That's kind of cool, but it's brown. That one's a little bit, the bore in that I think is bigger than that, but the color is off, isn't it? That one's a lot bigger, isn't it? All right. I think I've got enough beads here. I really kind of wanted something metal, but I'm not married to the idea. So, ideas, what do you think? I don't know that anyone did bones specifically in the nose. But maybe. I'm sure that someone did, but I don't think we were to the Americas yet, at least not as per our history books that happened at the end of the Dark Ages. The Nina and the Pinta and the Santa Maria. But yeah, okay. So what do you guys think about this, the closure? What do you think should happen? I can poke a hole here and pull out this faux leather. Or I can use some sort of, maybe I could tie on maybe the cross to pull through, to hang on the outside to hold it. or just to, let's see, maybe. I don't know. I wonder if I have a hammered button. I still want to look for a hammered button. I didn't do that. Let me move my crocodile. Look at all this plastic. I got all these plastic buttons. I don't know what that's doing in there. Look, there's string back in here. Okay. I have used almost all of my metal buttons up. Oh, here's a wood carved button. This is a real wooden button. Oh, that's cool. You know what? There we go. There's our closure right there. So it's not too overpowering. I want the front to be kind of simple. So if I put a button here and I put a string coming out here, then this could just be wrapped around and left hanging down. Any thoughts on that? Anybody? And the button could be changed if something better came along, like a hammered button. Because I really feel like I kind of want a hammered button here, but shamefully, I don't have one. I'm going to get me a little piece of this waxed thread to tie this button on. This stuff is really stiff too. This is cotton thread, and it is, look how dirty my hands are. My hands are covered in ink. I don't know how I'm going to get that off. And I wanted to go get my nails done, but it is so cold out. Oh my goodness. Well, actually, it's supposed to get up to 40 at 2 o'clock, which is in 10 minutes from now. So it might be warmer. But I had to go get a space heater and put in here by my feet because the cement floor out here is so cold that my feet are absolutely freezing. It's terrible. All right. So I'm going to sew this button on for now, for lack of a better, I don't know, I guess I could put a bead on it because it would be over here, not in your way when you were riding. And I do kind of like that lifesaver looking bead. I could put one of these metal ones on too. Well, that square one's weird though, isn't it? I'm not in love with the wood, but it is something that could be more authentic. And I really feel like I I want it to look authentic. So now I need to mark this, where this is going to kind of be in the center-ish. So let's see if I can go down through that hole. Just pull my string through. Yeah. That's the nice thing about this waxed thread, is it's very forgiving. Dad's in there sneezing. Can you hear him? I don't know if my new microphone picked that up or not. He's been sick since New Year's. I was hoping he was on the upswing, but doesn't sound like it, does it? I told him he needed to talk to his white blood cells, but he didn't listen to me. My needle's longer than my thread. I guess I could have cut my thread a little bit longer. I hate to waste it. So this, it did end up tougher than I thought, the leather. And I have a couple of fun things I found to put in the journal itself. And so I'm kind of excited about how, when I do the final flip through, I think it'll be fun in the end to show my finds. And what's everybody doing today? Chain. Oh, yeah. I wish I had strong enough chain for this. That would be nice. What's your weather, you guys? Kim, are you south? Are you more south or are you more north? Grandma Joe, I think you and Kim are probably about directly east of me, or I think maybe Kim might be southeast of Indianapolis. Yeah. And then I don't know. I think that you're probably almost the same longitude as me. So what I'm getting today, you're probably going to be seeing tomorrow. Actually, what I got yesterday is on its way to you. It'll probably be there tonight. And what we got yesterday was freezing rain and drizzle and the end of the good weather. So that's unfortunate, but that's what happened. Okay, so this is grabbing on this Velcro to my microphone. Hopefully you guys can still hear me and it's not going to pull it out. Okay, so there's the wooden button, for lack of something better right now. That can be changed out, which is nice. And again, I'm going to go back to the faux leather from Beebeecrafts. Thank you again, Beebeecrafts. This stuff is amazing. I love it. And I'm going to pick these up and put all these back in here. I didn't end up using these big old beads, but you know what? Sometimes I do. I've thought about throwing them away 100 times, and at least once a month I get in here and grab one of these big beads for some nonsense that I'm doing. Look, I left half of this metal stuff laying here too. I get in such a hurry, but I have to get my little metal thing down to pick up whatever fell back there. Okay, so I guess what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to come out here with one single piece and make it long enough to wrap around and then again around the button so that it just kind of holds this compact. So how much do I need? If I knot it here on the end, then I will need about how much? About that much, I'm guessing. So I'm going to give it a little extra and cut it off with my little kid scissors because my sharp scissors are out of reach. My super sharp ones. All right. So here's what we'll do. We'll go from the outside just to make sure that I'm kind of in the center. And I'm not going to measure. I'm going to eyeball this because these X's aren't exactly straight. I'm going to kind of draw an imaginary line here and find the middle. So I'm thinking this is about visually, maybe. This is center or slight bit higher. I'm just going to start working that in. Oh, be careful if you do this that you do not poke your fingers. Keep your fingers to the side of your pokey tool at all times. So I'm going to use the big end of the ball just to make this hole a little bit bigger. And then again, I'm going to lay this right there over that opening and start to push it through. Hey, I think Drew's here. Sorry, you guys. I don't mean to yell. We have a nephew that was coming by to get a tool. He's been working on his truck. He's home from the Navy, and he went right to work, and something happened. He had some mechanical problem with this big old loud diesel truck he drives around because he's like, you know, good old boy. Yep, somebody's here because the dog said so. And he ain't barking, so it's somebody we know. Somebody's here. You check outside anyway. Okay, so apparently Thad just told me that the dog's been up on my bed watching squirrels. And that's why he's so excited.
He goes back and lays down, he looks for squirrels, and he comes, oh, there's one out there.
Okay, so apparently the dog finally saw a squirrel. We have a couple huge bird feeders. Thad made me one out of a PVC pipe because we just kept filling the bird feeders because we had so many birds. But I wanted them in the yard because we do organic gardening, and it's really good for them to, you know, the more birds we have, the more insects they'll eat. And so I like to encourage the birds to come, and when the feeders are empty, then they'll move on to the insects. Well, but the squirrels have found that they could get up in the bird feeders. So he made me a bird feeder out of a PVC pipe. And it was a great big tall pipe. And so we got it to where it hangs in the tree, and I got it to where I didn't have to fill it up all the time. And he drilled holes through the side and made these little perches where he cut pipe in half. So there was like a little curved part that the birds could hold on to. So at first he drilled holes through and just put little shims type things. And the squirrels came and chewed them off to get the feed out. And then he made these little like cup things out of half pipe plastic, and the squirrels chewed that off too. So they chewed the wood, they chewed the plastic, and then he finally put spoons in, metal eating utensils, spoons. So he drilled flat open spaces, put the spoon in, bent the end of the spoon down, and so that just the cup is sticking out where the bird can hold on to the edge of the spoon and eat from the bird feeder. And so now the squirrels at least can't chew the spoons off. You're having freezing rain right now. Okay, so there's my closure. That stinks, doesn't it? So I'm thinking about this little cross. Because religion was so big at the time. Religion was everything at the time. But that's only because people couldn't read and they weren't being educated at that time well. You know, they were either fighting or navigating. So I feel like I should put something on the end of this, but for now I'm not going to. I think I'm just going to leave it. Does this wrap around again? No. I think I'm just going to leave it and trim it down. A little bit. Where's my scissors? Okay. So now I am going to be decorating the journal. So I'm going to do some symbolism and I'll show you the pages. I've got them really grunged up. Here, let me turn off this bright color light so you can actually see the true color of the pages. Okay. Actually, that's the wrong light. I switched my light bulbs so that the true color light's over there. Okay, so I made them nice and grungy. You know what? I thought about a griffin. Now, here's a map. I'm thrilled to report that I had found it Tuesday morning. Oh, my paper cutter. Oh, for heaven's sakes. I got the remote control over here. And I had found this paper packet Tuesday morning that I showed earlier. It's called Exploration, I want to say, by Reminisce. And this is the pack. And in it, it had remarkably, everything was in Latin back then, right? And after the discoveration of the discoveration, is that even a word? Like after the invention of the compass, what happened was map makers started, right, documenting landscapes and making the maps, and the trade routes could be reworked. But this old map in here, much like medieval maps, doesn't show Canada and Alaska in those portions of the world because they weren't explored yet, right? And so I cut out the writing. But if you look, like this says, everything is Mar, because that was like a maritime thing. Then this says, let's see. So they talk about the meridian, which they thought was down here, not up here. And some of the words they use are, let's see, where did I find? Oh, Nort for north is N-O-R-T. So a lot of the, and they have weird letters that in their ancient Hebrew script or whatever it was they were using. Oh, it was Greek. It was Greek. So, okay, so I've put this map, I crumpled it up real good, and I put it in here, and I decided to roll it up and tie it off in here because it probably would have been rolled up. A lot of maps were put on cloth so that when they got wet, they didn't tear up because, of course, paper was not as cottony as it is now. So I thought I would just roll up the map and tie it with a piece of silk. Silk was very, very important at that time. That was part of the mercantile trade of the ships. And so the silk trade was a big money maker during the Dark Ages. Spices, metals were all very armor. You know, if you made armament, then you had a high place. So all of these pages have either been dyed, double dyed, inked, both, marker, grunged in general. And then I've put a pocket back here, which consists of some unbleached muslin, and I tore it instead of cutting it, and I've actually tied it in. So if you had a coin or you owned a piece of jewelry or something that you wanted to have safekeeping of, then you could actually put it in this piece of fabric and fold it up and keep it safe in your journal. So, and then there's more grungy pages. Here, I'm going to turn this other light out. And I will move this. My camera is actually casting this shadow over here, so sorry about that. So, and look how nice and brown some of these pages turned out. I love it. I put the infinity sign back here. There was always a place people for supposedly the only art that was made by the lay people that weren't trained were shapes from them cleaning the quills of their pens. But because people didn't write, they could draw, or they could a lot of times make maps, which consisted of drawing trees representing forests and crude shapes, so that you could remember how to get back to certain places, especially if you were a sailor and you went to a foreign land. You could learn the landscape, and it took 6 weeks to get to, say, here. So eventually they got that time cut down. But can you imagine if you were going here for 6 weeks and you were here for whatever time, then went back 6 weeks and didn't come back for 6 months? You may not remember the landscape or how to find certain places. So hawks. I think that I was trying to find some of that stuff, and it's difficult because some of the symbolism they used was like that that not the griffin but the lion, and he's not like the standard lion as we know him, of course, because he's rearing up, and different lions represented different family names. So a lot of those, and then there was the mythical creatures too. But the griffin kind of ish, the rearing lions, some of those were in people's family crest flags and wax seals and things. And as they became better at working the metals and things, then those things became more prominent in their architecture. But it's really interesting when you look into it. I hadn't really looked at it a lot since probably school, but I remember being interested and liking in it, liking learning. I always liked learning about past times and things, but it was fun to kind of revisit some of that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my hand at the calligraphy again. And I've got the calligraphy pen and the set here. I've got a couple different nibs and different colored inks, but I'm just going to stick with black, I think. But I'm going to see what I can do as far as maybe at least drawing a few crude maps or something in here. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. I did end up sanding it to make it rough, to take some of the fuzz off of the outside. So in the end, I did use just 2 color paints. I used a craft paint in dark bark brown and the Dilutions chocolate, and then I coated it once it was dry. I did it twice. I coated it with matte gel, and then I waxed the other side, the inside, with the 2 waxes. And so I was really happy. It turned out really stiff, uh, and really kind of old. Oh, oh, thanks. Absolutely. You're making me blush. She said, absolutely fantastic. Oh, well, thanks, Grandma Joe. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I really am. It's plain and simple, but I think it was fun to do it. You know, we do so many pretty things. I think it was fun to really do something grunged up and like to make it dirty and to make it look old. And so that was really fun for me. I enjoyed this project a great deal. So who knows what's next, right? So whether you wrap it around the back first or the front first, this, let me see if these will fit in here. You think I should throw 1 or 2 of these on? These are fun. I don't know if they'd fit though. Let's see if we can get one on. There's my dog wanting back in because obviously he didn't get the squirrel. Last night I let him out the door and there was a rabbit, or was that night before? There was a rabbit like right in the middle of the driveway, just sitting there randomly in the middle of an ice storm. And I was like, what is that rabbit doing? And he didn't even know it. Like he didn't know it was out there. He just was doing his usual, you know, after dinner, got to go, you know, do my thing. And I opened the door and sure enough, he took off, and boy, that rabbit took off, and he come wandering back a few minutes later looking, you know, a bit disappointed. It did come out the other end. Look at that. I didn't know if it would, but it did. I'm going to have a look. See, I wish I had a metal button on there. I really think I'll probably change the wood carved button, but I don't know. I don't know exactly. So I'm going to put 2 beads on here. One was kind of a, one held some sort of a, or single items, I guess, single thoughts, held some sort of bad juju. And I don't remember because I read so much about the Dark Ages in the last week, but everything had to come paired as like hot and cold, female and male. And so they liked even numbers in certain things. So, but then they liked odd numbers in other things. So, strange, isn't it? A little strange. But, you know, you can always cut these beads off too. If the person that receives this journal does not like these beads, she can whack that off there and pull those right off. But it adds some weight to that, and I like that. I don't like it just being willy-nilly anywhere. And I always want something to make a sound, right? Now, back in the Dark Ages, these probably had lead in them and would not be good for you. But they probably still have lead on them, depending on where they came from. No, hopefully not. So that's my journal. I'm going to work on the inside, and then I will do a flip through later. But thanks, Beebeecrafts, for the leather. I love it. It thrills me. I'm gonna tag them in this video, and Thanks for coming by. Thanks for watching. Stay warm, Grandma Joe. How's the contest coming? Is it over or is it still going? Your wallpaper entry. For those of you that don't know, Grandma Joe entered a contest. Check out her Instagram for her details. I'm rooting for you. I can't wait until Grandma Joe has her own line of papers. Still going? Okay. Well, keep us all posted. Okay. Well, that's it for me. I'm on to the next one and on to the next project. I think I'm going to take a break from the alchemy journal and maybe come back later and try my hand at some calligraphy, but I am going to do some symbolism. Oh, and look at this. I showed this on an earlier video. I have a couple maps. On the trade routes, they drew their ships. Now, you know, they had both sails and or ships at the beginning of the Middle Ages, and see how they put their little ships on their trade routes. Isn't that cute? On their maps. And also they believed that the wind was still came from the corners of the earth, right? And the world wasn't quite round. This was the shape of it. So it had what, 8 corners? So they all had names, but if you look at the angels there, if you look, can you see them blowing the wind? Here, let me turn this off. Let me get this back in front of the... Can you see the angels are blowing, causing the wind to blow? There's angels up here. See them blowing on the earth. They're all pursed, and you can see the little lines. See the lines coming out of their lips where they're blowing air. Isn't that cute? It is cool. It is cool. And then you can kind of see, again, with the lettering, the words here are in the Greek alphabet. And they make their equator is quite low, or where they suspect the equator is. And I guess they just don't know what's up here at that time. But they had developed a system to determine latitude and longitude, and they were able to use the constellations by that time. And with the invention of the compass for their north, south, east, and west, after that, there was just no stopping these people. It was really an incredible time. Shipbuilding improved, and trade became crazy. And things you would normally, and people became rich. You know, they said when I was reading the paperwork, the interest that they made on their investment on things that they went overseas and purchased and then came back and sold for like 5 consecutive years, they were making 200% interest. So can you imagine that? Can you even fathom that for every $1 they spent, they came back but no YouTube? You're right. That's before YouTube. Now we know where the cheapest stuff is. Now we know. And you know, that's actually it. That's actually cool, because today you can get whatever you want. It's not who you know or how much money you have. It's if you know where to look. So you really can get whatever you want these days. And if you can't get it, you can make it, or you probably know somebody who does. That's what us crafters do. If we can't find it, we make it. Like if I can't find cheap faux leather for $1, listen to that. Can you hear that? it feels so cool. I wish you could feel it, Grandma Joe. I'm gonna send you a sample, maybe. I'll let you rub it just to see, because it's kind of neat. All right, I better end this video. Beebeecraft is probably like, oh my god, I don't want to watch this whole thing. But I am fortunate that they trusted me to be creative with some of their products, and I'm thrilled with how the journal came out. So I'm going to post it onto my Instagram, and hopefully they have a hashtag I can use, I imagine. And then I'm gonna go take a break. Right? You can be like, oh my gosh, it does feel neat. Then everybody will think you're a weirdo because you'll come in the chat and be like, Dana, I got it and I felt it and it feels so neat. And everybody will be like, what is she talking about? You're like, Dana, you're so weird. They'll be like, Grandma Joe joined Dana's weird club. All right. I have crumbs all over me from my foam thing literally fell apart doing all the aging in this. It literally just, it's like disintegrating now. So gotta get me a new foam thingy too. So I'm sure I will see you on when? I don't know. Later. Okay. Have a good day and keep warm. And I'll see you when I see you. Bye. Oops. Bye.